There was a girl in Hollywood. She was 14 years old, starring on one of Nickelodeon's biggest shows. A producer allegedly encouraged her to drink alcohol. Years later, that same network offered her $300,000 to stay quiet. She refused. And when Jennette McCurdy finally told her story, it did not just expose one person. It exposed an entire system. Decades of mistreatment, manipulation, and institutional failure that Hollywood worked hard to keep hidden. These are not rumors. These are documented facts. Hollywood sells dreams, but for the children who live inside that machine, the reality is often a nightmare. These child stars did not just survive Hollywood, they exposed it, and their courage is finally forcing the industry to confront its ugliest truth. Let's begin. In the 1920s, Jackie Coogan was the biggest child star in the world. He starred alongside Charlie Chaplin and earned an estimated $4 million. But when he turned 21, he discovered a horrifying truth. It was all gone. His mother and stepfather had spent nearly everything. Coogan sued but recovered almost nothing. The scandal led to the 1939 Coogan Law, requiring child actors' earnings be placed in trust accounts. But the law only addressed money. It said nothing about protection from predatory adults. That oversight would haunt Hollywood for decades. Cory Feldman was one of the biggest child stars of the 1980s. The Goonies, Stand By Me, The Lost Boys. But behind the fame, something dark was happening. Feldman has alleged that he and Corey Haim experienced inappropriate conduct by multiple adults, starting when Feldman was just 14. For decades, he tried to warn people. In his 2013 memoir Choreography, in interviews, in public appearances, almost no one listened. When the Harvey Weinstein scandal broke in 2017, Feldman went to authorities. He was told the statute of limitations had expired. Corey Haim died in 2010, never seeing the public believe them. But in 2022, another child star told her story. And this time, the world listened. In August 2022, former Nickelodeon star Jennette McCurdy released a memoir with a shocking title, I'm Glad My Mom Died. The book spent over 7 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. It was raw, painful, and impossible to ignore. McCurdy revealed that her mother Deborah forced her into acting at age 6. Her mother subjected her to eating disorders by controlling her food intake. Only after Deborah's death in 2013 did Jennette begin to heal. The memoir also described a Nickelodeon producer she called only the creator, widely identified as Dan Schneider. She alleged he encouraged her to drink alcohol at age 14. Nickelodeon allegedly offered her $300,000 to stay silent. She declined. By refusing the money, McCurdy became the catalyst for change. Within 2 years, a documentary would investigate that name. In March 2024, Investigation Discovery released Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV. It investigated systemic problems across Nickelodeon productions, particularly shows by Dan Schneider. What it revealed shocked viewers. Former cast members described a toxic workplace with on-set outbursts, gender discrimination, and content involving child actors that made young performers uncomfortable. Nickelodeon parted ways with Schneider in 2018, but problems were known internally for years. The documentary did not just expose one person, it exposed a system. But one revelation stood out above all others. Drake Bell, known for Drake and Josh, appeared in Quiet on Set with a deeply personal revelation. In 2004, dialogue coach Brian Peck was convicted of crimes involving a minor. For years, the victim's identity was protected. In the documentary, Bell shared publicly that he had been that minor. Bell described being manipulated by a trusted adult who had access to him through his work. During Peck's trial, industry professionals wrote letters advocating for leniency. The letters highlighted how networks can protect colleagues, even when serious misconduct is involved. Bell's account was both personal and systemic. The stories revealed a consistent pattern. Inadequate on-set supervision of child performers. Children worked long hours surrounded by adults with significant power over their careers. Child actors are minors in adult workplaces. They cannot advocate for themselves. They depend on adults to create safe environments. When those adults fail, children have no recourse. Investigations revealed that background checks were often inadequate or inconsistent. Brian Peck continued working with children after his conviction. The industry treated child safety as an afterthought. The failures were not mistakes. They were choices, and children paid the price. But another factor made everything worse. Jennette McCurdy's mother forced her into acting at age 6. Jackie Coogan's mother stole his fortune. Across decades, a disturbing pattern emerges. Parents who prioritize career over well-being. The entertainment industry creates enormous financial pressure. A child booking a series can earn hundreds of thousands of dollars. McCurdy described her mother controlling her food intake so severely she developed eating disorders. Her mother's death in 2013 was the beginning of her recovery. Not all stage parents are harmful, but the system creates incentives that corrupt even well-meaning families. Families failed to protect children. But what about the institutions? Nickelodeon was the home of children's television for decades, but quiet on set suggested that institutional failures allowed toxic environments to persist. Problems were allegedly known internally long before action was taken. Networks exist to create content and generate profit. Child safety, when it conflicts, becomes an inconvenience. Dan Schneider parted ways with Nickelodeon in 2018, but many problems occurred years earlier. Nickelodeon was not unique, it was emblematic. Wherever children perform professionally, the same vulnerabilities exist. But in the aftermath, something is finally beginning to change. As of March 2026, the conversation has expanded to systemic reform. Advocates are pushing for stronger labor protections, mandatory mental health resources, and independent reporting mechanisms. Child stars like Feldman and McCurdy are not just survivors. They are advocates. Their pain has become purpose. Proposed reforms include mandatory on-set supervision, psychological support, and independent hotlines where minors can report concerns without fear of retaliation. Progress is slow. The entertainment industry resists regulation, but public pressure has created momentum. For the first time, change seems possible. The real measure will be whether future child stars are actually protected. Every child who enters Hollywood today does so in a system that lacks consistent protections. The laws vary by state. The culture prioritizes profit over people. But conversations happening now, because of brave survivors, may finally create change the industry has avoided for a century. Advocates are pushing for federal legislation to standardize child performer protections. Industry guilds are revising guidelines. The question is whether Hollywood will fix it. The child stars who exposed the ugly truth did their part. Now it is up to the industry, lawmakers, and public. The silence is finally broken. The child stars who exposed Hollywood's ugly truth forced an industry to confront itself. Jackie Coogan's stolen fortune created a law. Jennette McCurdy's memoir broke the dam. Drake Bell's revelation proved the system failed. Together, their voices became impossible to ignore. Power without accountability creates abuse. The child stars taught us that systems matter more than intentions. The silence is finally broken. From Jackie Coogan's stolen millions in the 1930s to Drake Bell's revelation in 2024, nearly a century of child stars paid the price. But the silence is breaking. The truth is emerging. If this video moved you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Now tell me in the comments, which story affected you most? Jennette McCurdy's memoir? Drake Bell's revelation? Cory Feldman's ignored warnings? And what do you think should change to protect child actors?